So for those who are joining, there are a few people that are joining. We've just closed the discussions on 1.2 and we are kicking off sprint 1.3. So a few seconds until Sergey and Lars gets ready, and then we'll go. Lars, just Ivar is from Beaver Control.
Okay, my mistake.
Right.
So I think Sergey said he would start, or
he said so.
Yes. Or have we lost him?
No, I have nothing here.
So just let us know when you are ready. When you are ready, we are. Just be switching applications or whatever.
Okay, so I will start then. Sharing screen.
Please.
Yeah. So sprint 1.3. I hope you see.
We do.
My screen again. Yeah. So sprints 1.3. And so you see the specification of it here. So it actually builds on 1.1 and 1.2. So I assume then the checker will actually check all the usages from 1.1 and 1.2, and you have the links to those here. So 1.1 and 1.2. And in 1.3, we add, you see here a few more usages, still sort of on I would say on the topic of setting up the project. And the first one is project document information. So let me make that a little bigger. So project document information actually then associates a document, or in this case, document metadata to the project. Project is a sub we can click here. So the IFC project is actually a subtype of IFC context in this case. So it's a matter of linking with IFC rel associates document, a document information instance with the IFC project. And if we go back here, you see what will be tested by the checker. So it shall associate IFC document information with then non-empty identification, name, and location attributes. So that is what will be checked. And also some more specific stuff. The electronic format in this case should be, according to the specification, it shall be a MIME type for the actual document type. So in this case, it will check for application/PDF. And also, you should have an editor, which can be then yourself or any other actor. And actors then, as it says here, do not forget to declare it using project declaration usage from sprint 1.1. But I mean, you could use the same actor as you declared there. Yeah, and please interrupt if there are questions regarding this. And Sergey, please add if I'm missing something. We have a quite similar usage here, project dataset information, and this is actually new for IfcTunnel, IFC 4.4. We have actually added a mechanism which is very similar to document, but the idea here is that you should be able to associate, first of all, like we're doing here, sort of declaring on project level data sets, and these data sets can then, but that will come later, be linked to individual objects. And that, for example, was a requirement from our geotechnical or geoscience domain team, where there are formats out there already for maybe quite extensive data sets, which can be then captured in external data sets and linked to an object in the IFC file. And but the sort of pattern is very similar to the document. So again, you use, instead of rel associates document, you use rel associates dataset instead to the project, and you provide dataset information in this case. And it actually adds one attribute besides the metadata for documents. It's an optional attribute, but you can actually then provide also a reference to a schema, for example, an XSD, if the dataset is an XML file, for example. And if we go back here, it says that, yeah, again, you should have identification, name and location, and the location could typically be, for example, an HTTP address or somewhere you will find the data sets. And in this case, again, we just say, I mean, you don't have to actually provide an actual data set, just the metadata in this case. So electronic format shall be text/XML, and schema reference, we have actually specified the URL for GeoSci-ML XSD here, which could be relevant for tunneling, of course. Yeah, and then we have, again, something, project library information. I have never used this actually myself. But as you see, it's sort of, I mean, it follows a similar pattern as documents and data sets. And I would assume that this is, for example, used to associate when you have IFC files, library files with information. I guess it could be type objects or property set templates or things like that. Again, rel associates library instead of document or data set, and associated to the project. And then you have library information, which is then a reference to the actual library. And yeah, you can click in the diagram to go to the actual entity specification. And in this case, you should provide then a library information with non-empty location, version, version date, and publisher. Any questions so far? Otherwise, we continue. So we have project type definitions. So as most of you are maybe aware, you have this principle in IFC where you have type objects and occurrence objects. So you can specify, for example, a beam type or a wall type or a type of something which might have its shape, it might have its properties, and maybe then when you specify, for example, an occurrence of an IFC wall or IFC beam, you can reference this type object and maybe just override a few of the properties, for example, which is a kind of handy way then to handle many occurrences of things that are essentially defined in the same way. And those types should be then also declared on project level with project type definitions. And this is used if you have done sprints 1.1, you have already used IfcRel declares. So in this case, it's sort of the similar pattern where you have the project and you have the declaration and then you have the type object. And just to use some new entities in the 4.4 schema, we say here that you shall declare an IFC arch element type, which is a new entity in IFC 4.4. Yeah, and then the last then sort of project level declaration is then for this project template definitions where you can specify property set templates. And to me, I sort of imagine that this is kind of underused, and I think that's a little bit strange maybe. But anyway, what we are asking here is that you define a property set template, which you declare on project level. And we are working in parallel here with defining actual property sets for the new entities that have been defined in 4.4. So we just took a small sample from that work. So in this case, we just picked PSET GeoObs borehole construction, which is something that our geoscience domain team has specified, and we define it as a type-driven override property set, so it can be sort of attached to element types, but the properties can be overridden on occurrence level. And actually, I see here that we should actually specify both borehole and borehole type here, if it is this type. But yeah,
correction. It's always on the occurrence.
Okay, it is.
Yes, that's how the.
Good to know. Yeah. Okay. So this is correct then.
This is correct. Yes.
Yeah. And then for the property set, we just specify one property template, which is drilling diameter, which is a single value property, and it should have the data type positive length measure. So that's about it for this sprint. I don't know if you would like to add something there, Sergey.
Did you mention that this sprint is a bit longer, 3 weeks this time, because there's it's a bit more comprehensive, let's say.
Yeah. No, I didn't mention that, but you see, we have the kickoff date here today, and submission here means that, well, we would prefer that if you have data sets that you submit them by this date, and the sprint is closed on the 16th of March. And I mean, the principle will be exactly the same. We have these sort of meetings on Thursdays, and on the 16th there will be then meetings as usual, and then a similar kickoff like this, but for then sprint 2.1. So that's sort of the plan for the next couple of weeks then.
So as you see, we're kind of staying true to the sprint one idea that we're building up the IFC project. Our root node is always IFC project pretty much. We're building it up so that we can then start attaching other stuff to this. And as you see, there's a lot of concepts that should be declared and attached to the project already. I hope you find this helpful. But of course, if you know your software doesn't support external libraries or links to external libraries or links to external documents, just write that into the pull request, and we can then focus on the ones that you actually submitted.
Maybe one comment from a domain usage perspective, this idea of bringing a new possibility to link external reference data, as Lars said earlier. The basic idea behind the scene is that if you have, for example, a GS file or DX files or other files of that nature that describes observations or tests or results of tests, that you link to this as opposed to integrate the content of those files into the IFC exchange. So it's a way to optimize the exchange and avoid to build up a huge file, whereas the data is described properly in external format and external files.
Yeah. So I guess one example, I'm not a geoscience expert at all, but I would assume that, for example, you could have an IFC borehole instance in an IFC file, and to that you can link, for example, logs of different kinds, for example, from observations. That would perhaps be one use case of that.
Maybe last, Sergey, to be a bit more, not specific, but to give an example of what an external library might be containing. Could you give an example?
Yeah.
No,
please, Sergey.
So an external library is pretty much a link to external metadata about something. You have a URI reference there where the file format can be found. So you pretty much declare or let's say associate, to be very exact, according to the relationship used. You have this external reference where these library files can be found. One of these is, for example, if you go to computer interpretable listings, Lars. And if you go to general usage, for example, here you have the property sets and quantity sets templates for each IFC specification. And for example, here you can download the step version or the IFC XML version or the PSD zip files or something like that. And you could pretty much, reference this site with the external library information for your file, right? So if you're using something like that, I think this mechanism for linking property sets is one that's often overlooked. We use it a lot in our work. It might be that software vendors weren't even aware of this, and then you get this file where you have all of the property set templates declared already, so you can just reference this, for example, and you have a clear way back to the official property sets.
So in here you actually have an IFC project library instead of IFC project in this file.
And it's actually a valid file because IFC only specifies a global rule that at most one IFC project is in the file. So if there is none, that's still valid. And then, as you have seen, just the property set template, one of the templates that Lars was showing before, the declaration of properties, property templates. I think you still have it somewhere, or actually it's in the sprint documentation. That's then used because all of the property sets and property set templates and property templates and quantity set templates and quantity templates are then declared here. So if you know the declaration, you can use you can see how this is supposed to work on IFC context. Probably too much information. Sorry for that. Just wanted to be very thorough.
But I mean, another sort of useful project library could be, for example, if you declare a lot of type objects, for example. Wouldn't that be, at least it sounds like that to me?
That would be one very useful case. Or for example, if you just declare types with profiles, for I-beams and stuff like that. All of that can be defined somewhere external from your IFC files and then just linked through this mechanism.
Okay. Should we go through the examples, Sprint 1.3 example slides that you have prepared?
Yeah, we can look at it. I don't know. I know I provided one. Let me see. So yeah, so this is one example. It's still in a pull request since the checker isn't updated quite yet. But as you
will
see,
be tomorrow. If I got Stefan right, it will be tomorrow.
Yeah. So as you see, what I've tried, I'm not sort of guaranteeing that this file is correct yet, since it hasn't gone through the checker. But what I tried to provide here is actually one example for each of the usages so far. So we have these 3 usages for 1.1, these 3 for 1.2, and then one instance of each from 1.3 as well. But if you go into this pull request and look, so you can have a look at the actual IFC file as well. And unlike most of you others that have in the spatial decomposition have provided an IFC site, I've actually sort of been a little bit bold and used an IfcTunnel facility instead, just to sort of give at this early stage, just sort of provide a little taste of a tunnel
context.
Yeah. But other than that, it's nothing more than is required. So there's no geometry in here yet, for example. But somewhere in here, I have also provided, for example, for one of the usages, I've actually declared a system, which is also a system that we have specified for tunneling, for example. But yeah, look at it this, and maybe tomorrow it will have been merged, so you will find it under the project team folder if you want to look at it, and if the file is correct. So yeah.
Thank you. Any questions to Lars and Sergey on this specific IFC sprint 1.3 concepts?
And maybe again also just stress that if you are, for example, if you have possibilities to import data, that is of course also very useful if you can try to import and if you have something to sort of show what you did and what you found and how the import worked, then please upload some information about that all as well then to the repository.
Yep.
So just as an example, I know that Geometry Gym, for example, imported some of the georeferencing files and just verified that the origin ended up in the correct place, for example, on the map. And in some of those files, there is actually information of where that should be. I think one, for example, is a point just outside the Technical University of Munich, for example, a file from Stefan.
Okay.
And it's not forbidden to try to import files from other vendors either. So.
On the opposite, recommended.
Yeah. Recommended. Yeah, and I mean there are already files in there that sort of go beyond what is actually tested at this stage. So where there are actual objects. So yeah.
We don't guarantee for those, however,
no.
because we haven't reviewed them.
No.
That will come.
Yep.
Maybe some of our friends here in the call find the pace at which we move forward slow, but I think it's important that we really try to go, one by one into these basic concepts before we get into more complicated ones.
Yeah, but it's sort of building from the foundation and up.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
we need to guarantee this common understanding by everyone. Sorry, Sergey.
We had some great discussions already, so
Yep, indeed.
It's not like it's not very exciting yet.
No, but you need to have this consolidated before moving forward. So it's it's a requirement. We need to go through this. I was wondering, is Stefan on the call?
He is.
Stefan,
he just posted that we should encourage opening issues and feedback. It is testing the standard. The deployment project is about testing the standard. So it's not like you're looking at a final product. You're actually looking at a playground. So take it as a sandbox. If you have ideas, share them.
Yes, we need to say this at every call. You're absolutely right. It's we're trying to make it the leanest and the best implementable possible format standard. Which you have. Stefan, can you speak up, or do you have problems with your mic? He has? Okay.
Yes, he's on a train. and we are very hacked off, so it's bad connection.
And we had a response back to Nadia, I think, that we wanted to convey.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned that. Is Nadia on the call now? Or...
Nadia is on the call, yes.
Yeah. So the message was that it's. I mean, at this stage, finalize the 1.2 file, because the 1.1 will sort of. That was what he said, right? Will sort of fail in the test anyway, so it's better to just finalize the 1.2 example.
Yes. And again, it's okay if the checker fails on the 1.1, whereas we are checking on 1.2.
Yeah.
So the 1.1, I updated it today. I'm not sure if it went through the checker or not, or if anybody reviewed it. I'm not sure if I did it the correct way, the update.
Yeah, that was exactly the point. You should just go for the 1.2 file, because the checker currently checks all of the concepts from 1.1, 1.2. So if you're missing project classification information, it will fail and say that you don't have a classification, decomposition, and global positioning. So just go for the 1.2 pull request and finalize that one, and it will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyone else?
Jan-Erik is not on the call, right?
No, he's traveling today, so he will not be available at all.
Okay, no problem. We had some content-related discussions, so not really schema-related or specification-related, but we'll follow up on that.
Okay.
Then if no other questions or comments whatsoever, all right, then I think we can adjourn this one, and look forward to exchanging with you again latest next Thursday. But of course, the collaboration tool brings you the opportunity to exchange with us any day. So please use it. So if we are good, I think we can thank everyone and wish everyone a nice evening. It's probably not far away from dinner time for many of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Noontime.
Here. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.